Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Beef, where we not only talk about everyday problems, we talk about everyday solutions. And here we are doing that.
Hello, Bob.
We've had everyday problems trying to get our technical stuff sorted out, right?
Yeah, you're not kidding. You're not kidding. This is getting a little bit nuts.
Exactly what we said we weren't going to do, right?
But it's not all our fault. I mean, I tried being, very current to buying some new microphones. Bob recommended some things to me. Get it. We set it all up. It doesn't work. Right out of the box. Doesn't work.
Didn't work.
That's one thing. Just work. It just worked. It just doesn't even work. So, so I'm using Yeti today, this microphone. But may change tomorrow.
But it sounds good. Did you return the other one yet or no?
No, not yet. Me, I like to procrastinate.
But it doesn't really matter because this one sounds really good. It really does. So I think we're good. And we got the background straight. Yep. No more
good.
Ridiculous glare or anything. Everything looks good. I mean, I have to tell you, whatever we did. So if we just kind of keep it like this, I think we're okay.
All right. Well, I can't guarantee it. I can't guarantee it. But I do have a question for you that I've been thinking about a little bit this morning as I was drinking a cup of coffee and starting my day. Mm-hmm. Do you have the old mugs, or did I have one of those as well? I'd like a Beyond the Beef mug. Oh, well, I like to be able to drink my coffee out of it. Otherwise, I just have this generic white and blue sort of coffee mug.
Yeah, the beef mug has to be earned.
Aren't we beefing?
Yes, we are. That's right. Okay. I have it. Let me see. Hold on.
Is it close? Because if I remember correctly, we had one with different handles, right? We had one with a red handle,
one with red and one with black.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
So I don't remember. Oh, see, wait, sorry.
I think I used the red one. I think.
Yeah, I don't remember. I think you were too. But yes, and by the way, I have two of each. So.
Oh, okay.
We'll have a lunch and I'll pass along
grab a mug.
Well, a pair, right? And so then you'll have a pair and I'll have a pair, which was the original intention. That was always like what we were going to do. And then, that's good. Yeah, now the problem, I will tell you the problem, and I've realized with mugs. So this is like the mug that normal people used to drink out of, right?
Used to. Mm-hmm. They're very small.
Very small. And so now when I use this on my Keurig or whatever, which I'm sure I'm not supposed to use, some activist is going to come after me and say, you're destroying the world.
Well, it depends on the pods. As long as you're using biodegradable pods, Bob, you'll be okay. You'll save the world.
But okay. But I like to, have a nice cup and utilize as much of the pod as I possibly can. And so this is too small for me. Once I get done with the large cup of coffee that I like to put in it and milk, it overfloweth. So
I hear you. And my biggest thing is I'm not using the pods anymore. I'm grinding beans and making pots of coffee because it's not strong enough now. Like I want like you said, like the 12 to 16 ounces of Joe, because here in the United States of America, we like everything bigger. And so we have giant coffee and giant meals and, and everything like that. Everything is big. Everything is big.
Us.
It's crazy, right? You travel across the world and they're like, oh no, little cups of coffee, but it's strong, good coffee and does its job. And you're like, what is this little thing, But, it's just different here.
Well, coffee is purposeful, right? And so if the purpose is to enjoy the flavor and, get your caffeine or whatever, then small espresso is right. But I think, use it socially. Like it's a habit. You got to have a cup of coffee in your hand.
Sure.
Like that's kind of the way that I seem to use it. So
Agreed.
I need that big cup. But I think I can get these printed on bigger mugs. So maybe that's another project I can.
Maybe it is, but let's not put too much into it, Bob. Let's stick with where we are.
Kinds of silly things. That's a stupid one. But
we should get some swag though. That'd be good. That'd
be kind of good. Why not? So that might be a good investment. But now I would like to do the grinding my own beans and everything. My problem, I think, is that if I did that, you have to brew like a whole pot of coffee and then you drink the whole pot of coffee. So I wouldn't want to waste it.
Yeah.
And then I'm drinking more coffee than I probably.
We usually make about an 8 to 10 cup pot of coffee. Again, my wife and I, we're both working from home. So we go through that thing. Maybe there's a little bit waste. And to be honest with you, in the summertime, what I do is I save any little bit that's left and I make some iced coffee later.
Oh, that's
then
good,
I have the brewed coffee, stick it in the fridge and do all that sort of stuff. But I drink my coffee black, so I need a good coffee. You know, it's not like with sugar and cream. Like I just like a good
coffee,
good tasting coffee. I just want coffee.
I'm almost there. I like milk, but no sugar. Anyway, all this is, probably not interesting to anybody except us, but we've never
interesting nonetheless. I mean, I don't know. You never know.
So we talk about that's what this show is. So I guess that's it. Okay, so I do have something I wanted to talk to you too. Is that it's not really official beef, but it's something to talk about, which is we were talking about microphones, right? Mm-hmm. So of course, you know me, I'm a collector, which is like code for a nut.
Yeah, it's not just a collector of a couple of microphones, by the way, Bob. It's a little bit deeper than that.
You say collectors are hobbyists, but in fact, we have actual problems, right? Like some deep-seated psychological issues. I don't know what it is.
We'll get through that.
I don't know that we will, because you collect stuff. Well, I collect stuff, and then I like having it. I like the thrill of getting it, and then you put it somewhere and you never use it, like you never touch it, but knowing that it's there is kind of cool. Now, I think a lot of collectors fall in that category because you buy stuff that you're not really using.
Sure. Like a shoe collector, right? You're not, wear them all the time. So people never wear them. They just like the way they look and to have them and to feel good owning them.
Or someone who collects
show them off. Typically show them off, but I'm not sure.
But that's the whole thing. Not always, right? Like somebody who collects, like, let's say Star Wars droids, just as a random example. What are you going to do with those, really, except have them, right? And like pull them out and say, here's my droid.
That sounds
fun. I have been known to do occasionally, but
do they sing into your microphones or anything? Do you do droid karaoke throughout your multiple microphones?
I haven't crossed those two hobbies yet. However, there is a crossover because, when I went to Disney and, you could build your own droids and stuff, that's just geeking out in a great way. But the droids have these voice chips. So, the remote control droids, they have these voice chips, which, make droid sounds. Sounds cool. Well, cool.
Some. It sounds cool to some.
Me.
Yep.
But I went online and I found this guy. Great. I love it on YouTube. You can find anything, right? And he figured out a way to create your own voice chips. So you basically buy the chip and, he did the circuitry for you. You create your own voice chip and you can record your own voice and have it come through the droid.
Into the droid. Wow.
If you want. But really what I do is I have these synthesizer sounds, because that's another hobby of mine, of course. And I create that and then you load it into the droid. And now your droid is singing in a way that you want it to. It's like the coolest. Well, again, cool. I don't know, but it's a neat thing.
Cool is a definition that is determined by each individual, right?
I guess so.
So you've got droids. Let me just get this straight. You've got Star Wars droids that have chips in them. In which you've put voices behind it with synthesized music. Are they singing? Tell me.
All kinds of things.
Doing whatever you want them to do.
Whatever you want them to do. But I have all these synthesizers, so you create these sound effects, and then you can put them onto the chip, and then you put the chip in the droid. I mean, it's a process. Believe me, this is not like...
And you can change them out. It's not just done. It's not like...
well, that's the whole thing. So this is what got me into 3D printing, which was my other hobby, because, you need...
I know a little bit about this one.
You need a holder to hold the chip and put it into the droid. And so it's all overlaps, right? But so that's almost where my hobbies cross. So 3D printing, droids, synthesizers, and microphones. These are my big ones. I think that might be all of them, but that's a lot, right?
That's a lot.
That's a lot. So you see, there's a crossover somewhere, but
some of them are related. The droid one kind of not as related, but you've found a way to put it together and truly do that. It's really interesting that you really dig the droids.
Well, you know what it is? I think it's electronics. That's what kind of brings it all together. Because I don't only play with that. I rebuild them, right? I rebuild the microphones, I rebuild the printers. So it's the actual electronics. Even though I don't know that I'm very good at it. Like I look online at these people on YouTube, and they really understand how the circuits work and everything else. Like, I can get it, I can learn it, but I'm not intuitively, I can't look at a circuit and say, oh, that's what that capacitor does. Some people can do that though.
It was kind of like your major in college and all too, right? Like wasn't that electrical engineer, which it deals with still some of the same sort of aspects of things, right? I mean,
but not electronics necessarily, right? That's what I should have done. By the way, that's a whole different subject, because when I went into electrical engineering, that's what I thought I was going to do. But as it turns out, that's not what electrical engineering is. Much bigger. Not at all. For me, I went to the wrong school for that. And so it was like, oh, wait a minute, where's the circuits?
That's pretty funny.
Anyway, so here we are. Okay, so why am I bringing this up? Because microphones. We were talking about microphones.
Yes.
And so we're getting you set up on microphones. Yep. And so, of course, being a collector of microphones, occasionally I will get some microphones from places like eBay and Reverb, which is music. Okay. So I ordered this microphone from eBay not long ago.
Okay.
And it was listed as no use, right? Like new, no use.
Never been used kind of thing, right?
That kind of thing, right? And so it looked great in the pictures. And the person ships it. And I open it up. The box is pristine. Shipping was perfect. Shipped fast. Everything good, right? I open it up and the microphone has this massive dent in it. Big old, like it was dropped on its head.
Maybe it was. Maybe they opened the box wrong. Yeah, but that's a whole nother conversation.
So this is where I'm going to go with this, is that, so I get this thing, it's got this big dent, and now I'm like, well, I can't accept it this way. But what's the proof that I didn't do it, right? Like, if this person's trying to scam me, then their answer is clearly going to be, well, I didn't ship it that way.
Right.
And then we're in this thing, right? And I had this happen once before, not with this situation, but another one, same exact thing. And I bought the thing and I said, hey, make sure it has no dings or dents or this or that. And the person said, no, everything's perfect. I got it. There was a huge scratch in it. I mean, like, and you could tell that the way that they photographed it.
At least let me know. Yeah. They were trying to hide it, right?
They were trying to hide it.
Of course.
And so I wrote them back and I was like, hey, there's this big scratch in it. No, it wasn't that way when I sent it. I said, but all I did was open the box. Like, yeah.
Right.
And so they said, well, I know your type. You're just trying to scam me. I'm like,
somebody said that to you? They said that to you?
In whatever words, right? But that was it. Yeah. You're just trying to scam me. Like, I know your type. Fine, you could send it back, but you're paying shipping. I'm like, and this is like a fight. And I'm like, that's crazy. What? I'm not dealing with you. Like, it's not that much.
They have protections against that too, though, don't they? Don't they have protections against things wrong with the product, or if they get lost and whatnot, like refund?
Yeah. Well, this one was that particular one was on Reverb, and so which is a kind of a equivalent for musical instruments. But but whatever. Yes, they do. But it's the same type of thing. Like, how do you know, or how do they know that you didn't just do it? Because I imagine there are people that will buy something, bust it up a little bit, or take a picture of something else that was busted up, you know what I mean? And then try and get money off. So
yeah, but like, I guess I'd say why, right? You wanted the microphone. You bought the microphone, right?
Yeah.
All you wanted was the microphone and how you saw it, right? You wanted a new microphone that wasn't dented. And you want the microphone. So why lie about it? You wish there was no dent, so you would keep it and everything is good. And I guess it's the same thing for any business or any product you're buying, even if it's brand new. People are turning around saying, hey, this was broken or dented or whatnot when I got it. Can I return it? And they've got to assume that was the right, that was true. And that should be the same thing from a consumer from that perspective.
I think, well, because there's like people that do this with retailers and stuff, right? It's like they have something that is busted, and then they buy a new one. Then they put the busted one in the box, and then I
have seen that. I actually had that happen.
Yeah,
I actually had a big one like that happen where my mother-in-law bought me all new knives, a whole new knife set, and gave it to me actually for Christmas. And I was excited for it. As you know, I cook in the house, I do all that stuff, and I really appreciate my knives. So I took out the new butcher block, and the wrong knives were in it.
Yeah,
it was totally different knives.
It happens.
So somebody took out the good knives, put in their old knives, put it back in the box. The worst part is the place when that Macy's where we got it from, when they got it back, opened the box. They never opened the box to look and make sure the right knives were in it.
Yeah.
They just kept it taped and put it back on the shelves, and I got it, and I had just totally random knives. But in this case, they had to believe me that I wasn't me that put those knives in there, and I didn't take them all out and put in all knives and send it back, right? They had to believe me that it wasn't me that did the same thing, trying to get my money back and keeping the old knives like the last person did.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
And so like a big company will probably be like, all right, it's not worth, but a smaller, so
every dollar counts.
It made me think about like, why do people do? So anyway, what the most recent thing that happened to me in this thing that was dropped on its head. So I did contact him. There's a big dent in it, right? And of course, the answer came out. I wasn't like that when I shipped it. I was like, oh, but they were like, but hey, return it. We'll pay for shipping to return. So I was like, well, clearly you just missed it, right? Something happened. You just missed it. And so I was like, wow, that's pretty amazing, right? And so then I said, well, maybe I could fix it because they're being nice. And so now I'll say, well, maybe I'll keep it for a discount. But if I ask for the discount, then they're going to think that I'm
think you're being shady.
Goodness. Yeah, right. So I'm like, whatever. So I did it. And I was like, the way I approached it was like, I'm not going to tell them what I'm thinking about a discount. It's like, hey, if you want me to keep it and you could save shipping, I'll be willing to do that. And they volunteered a discount, which was like a really good discount. I was like, cool. These people are
great service. It's great service,
great people, whatever else. Okay, but the other one
is bad service. Yeah,
clearly a scammer, right? And it made me think like, why do people do that? Because there's a lot of people on eBay that do that. Like and then when I go through the listings and I see, people like take pictures from exact angles, you get to learn to see like they've cut off where the thing is actually damaged. Like, why would you do that?
They're just trying to scam people. They're trying to, it's a matter of trying to get something for nothing. The same, and it's a matter of people thinking they're pulling the wool over your eyes, right? They win, they got their money, they did whatever. It happened to my son not too long ago. He bought something through Instagram and he was expecting this big box of sports stuff, right? You can buy these big boxes, these mystery boxes, stuff like that. He collects football cards and all different things like that. Footballs, autographed footballs, things like that. He did it through Instagram. He was all pumped.
What a nutty kid collecting.
He was all, I know. Exactly. If he collected droids, he'd be much more normal.
What's wrong with him?
Does that, right?
Cards.
But he makes football cards. Yeah. Things that actually grow in value. But
droids grow in value. But we'll talk about that.
I'm sure they do for that select population of droid collectors. I'm sure they go up like
big
crazy.
Market.
Yeah, huge market in droids. This is especially the ones that sing and have personal voices on them.
Grown ass man.
Yeah, it's unreal. It's unreal. And you judged people with tattoos when you were at Disney.
I didn't
and
judge.
You're a droid collector.
Did not judge. I just questioned. How could you do that forever? And, my droids are not forever. I could sell them anytime.
You could, but your tattoos. Will. You will never part with them. They're like, they're like your tattoos. Yeah. But anyways, what happened was he's excited to get this box, right? So, took him out to the mailbox, excited to get the box. You know what he got? He got like 2 cards in a sleeve. He opens it. He goes, what the hell? What is this?
Mystery box.
I expected this big box of stuff. He got scammed, and the cards are worthless. They're like 50-cent cards. They're nothing. And this guy just sent out something random. James writes him back and tries communicating with him and whatever. He paid like $50 for this thing. It was his own money. Yeah.
Whoa.
And because he didn't go through a reputable site, because he didn't go through an eBay or one of those things like that, he didn't have a full complaint. The money's gone, right? Yeah. So my heart broke for him. And people are scamming 15-year-old boys out of this.
That kind of thing. That's who's buying that, man. I mean, scam a 50-year-old, I guess.
It's a little bit more stand up, but still, don't scam. It's just a matter of people trying to pull the wool over your eyes. Everyone's trying to make a buck the easy way, and it makes you nuts. It makes you nuts, the dishonesty.
Well, this is what, so when that happened, this was years ago, actually, that this happened, but I was like so upset, right? I'm just so upset because I would never do that to anybody, Right. And it was so clear that this person was like, there's no way you could have missed this, right?
No way.
And there's no way that
you were hiding it, and it was going to come back to you. The person was going to, you were going to see it.
Right. And I thought to myself, why would anybody do this? So when I run into these problems, I generally call my mommy. And I
nice. Usually Mommy. A good place to talk about it. Uh-huh.
She's wise, right?
Yeah, she is.
Nothing else to do right now. So anyway, I call, and she actually gave me some great insight on this. She's like, look, you got to recognize, what did it cost you? I was like, well, $70, $80, whatever. It's not insignificant, by the way, but
I know where she's going already. Mm-hmm.
Well, go ahead. Tell me what you think she said.
I think she's
my mother. So
yeah, she's probably, is it really worth your time to talk about this and spend so much time? Is it still working? Is everything okay with it? Are you really you're going about wasting so much time complaining about this and talking about this and doing all of this? Is it really worth $70? Don't you?
Kind of not worth your energy, right?
Not worth your energy. Exactly.
It's half of the answer, right? Half of the answer is she. The other half of the answer was kind of even more like empathetic. She was like, listen, what you got to recognize is if somebody is willing to do that, there must be a reason. And I'm like, but like a reason like they're not, they need that $70, right? Yeah. She goes, like so even if they didn't, let's say they're just criminals. Okay. But like, just pretend that they really needed that money. And so you help them out. I was like, okay, I could actually go with that for $70. Now, if it was $700,
right. There's a risk help somebody else out. Right. There's a risk thing there.
Right. Maybe other charities that could use it more than this guy. But anyway, I thought that was kind of an interesting thing.
It is an interesting way to look at it. And it's interesting because in another fashion, because I think of sometimes when I'm driving, right? And people are driving like idiots. They're flying past you. They're flashing their lights, right? And there's a part of me always that says, well, maybe this person is really in an emergency.
There's a reason. Yeah.
There's a reason for this, right? Wife in the hospital, injury, something going on, something. Maybe there's a reason. So I use that to almost calm myself down from any road rage and say, all right, maybe there's a reason. I'm going to move out of the way and let them fly. And it's kind of the same sort of mentality of maybe there's a reason, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they need the money. Maybe they're struggling. Maybe they're, you never know. No, for probably many of the times there's not, and somebody is just trying to make an extra buck, or it's just a kid that doesn't know how to drive and he's racing his buddy. But for the time that it is potentially a reason, you kind of got to say, okay. And it makes you feel a little bit like, all right, I'll back up a little bit. I have the ability to,
maybe they're just jerks, but a lot of times, like, you and I make mistakes on the road, right? And I get honked at. And like, I think the assumption is I did something that I wasn't meaning to do. And I know that I wasn't meaning to do it. So I think that's a good way to look at it. So maybe that's like, you kind of go through life and you say, okay, when people seem like they're going to be doing something wrong to you, sometimes maybe they are, right? But maybe we can think the majority of times they're not. Okay, so I told you that story to tell you this one, which is my official beam. And we've talked about this before offline, I think, this particular situation. But I went to a diner not long ago, local.
This is going to be a touchy subject, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. And so everything is more expensive now. And of course,
no doubt. Through the roof, not even close.
Through the roof. So I'm used to going to a diner with my family, and maybe you spend $70, which I could have bought a microphone, but still, whatever. Now, like you can't get out of the place for under 100 at all.
And it's a family of four, just so right? Family of four.
Family of four, yeah. Okay. Generally, when we all go together. So can't get out for under $100. And with that, like the service, we talked, that's going to be another episode of the tipping thing and everything, right? The service has gone down, and the quantity and the quality, like, it's just not what it was. I think restaurants need to rethink everything. That's another episode. But for now, we got the bill and I go to pay it because a diner, those of you who are not familiar with kind of diner.
Yeah, it's more of a
in the Northeast, right? Yeah,
thing,
usually you get your bill and you go to the front and you pay it, right? That's kind of like diner thing.
Diner etiquette, diner process. Yeah, that's
what you do. And so in doing that, sometimes you don't look at the bill. You just like kind of go and you pay it. Of course, I do look at the bill, and all the way at the bottom of the bill, I even have it on my phone. I'm going to read it so that I don't get this wrong, right? Because at the bottom of the bill, let me just find it here. There was. I got to take my glasses off, as you know, because
because you're old. Yeah.
Because I'm old.
It happens. It happens.
Right. At the bottom of the bill, there is an extra charge, and it's called a food cost charge.
You would think that's kind of product
built
plus
into
margin is what you're paying, right? Isn't that kind of included already? Yeah.
I think the price has the cost built in.
You would think so.
Food cost charge, and it's 3%. Okay, you have to calculate. It doesn't say 3%. You have to calculate it, but it ends up being around 3% of the bill.
Okay.
And then there's a note all the way at the bottom. Like, you got to really look hard for this. It says, to ensure we maintain the highest standards, we have added a fee for increases in food costs, as we will not compromise on quality. What? What in the name of, what are we talking about there? So basically, if your costs have gone up, then raise your prices so that when I'm looking at the menu, I can see if this is something I want to buy or something I don't, right? That's fine.
Correct.
But you don't keep your prices where they are. And then at the end of the bill, add on 3% and say, well, this is for our costs. Everything's for your costs. Like, to me, that's trying to scam your customers. Am I wrong in that?
No, you're not wrong in that. You're not wrong in that. But I also look at it as just a horrible business decision.
Terrible.
Just bake it in. I mean, 3%, just bake it into the raise everything 50 cents for all that matter. You know what I mean? Like you don't raise your prices a little bit and then it's not a specific line item. and Bobs aren't looking at it and going, what is this? Right? Like, did they not want to reprint menus? Was there too much of a cost in reprinting menus? So they want to add 3%. Like, I don't understand.
And if you're going to do that, then tell me that, right?
Front.
Like
up front,
like tell the wage. Hey, by the way, these prices add 3% because that's the actual price.
Exactly.
Okay.
A sticker on the menu that says all prices have increased 3% due to tough times, due to where we are in economy, right? Something.
Anything. So I went up and I said, hey, what is this? Right? Like, this food cost charge? Like, it's ridiculous. Right. And we have some people complain about it. Some people complain about it.
The ones that don't read it don't. Yeah.
Most people don't read it, right? And he said, well, you have to talk to the manager. Okay, where's the manager? Oh, he's not here. Yeah, I figured that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I go online and I'm like, okay, I'm looking for reviews now. I'm going to say, people have got to be tearing this place apart for doing, because this is something that restaurants are doing. I've seen them doing these ridiculous charges. I don't know that I've ever heard it called this, but okay. So I go online, I look, and nobody's complaining. Nobody's complaining about anything. I'm like, what? Am I on a different planet? Like, what's going on? Like, is everyone so afraid just to kind of stand up for themselves? What is it, James?
I think that's such a bigger piece in conversation, right? It's the person that speaks up in this scenario, though, it gets canceled. Right. You'll be the bad guy if you come out in public and say, how can they add these prices? It's not about adding the prices. Hey, everybody, if I'm going out to a restaurant, I understand prices are going up. I understand these are the things. It's the fact that I didn't know about it beforehand when I was picking from the menu. Right. I didn't know about it when I sat down, and all of a sudden they're giving me a bill that I need to pay. And they just threw some extra money on it for me to pay.
And sneak it at the bottom of the thing.
Right at the bottom. And it is, if you were to say anything, there could be potential ridicule. Let's just put it that way. Or at least
confrontation, right?
Or at least confrontation where people push back and they would, and what you said and your point would get lost. And that's part of the problem, right? We don't want to say anything in these public forums anymore because you might be right. You're 100% right that should not have happened. But it would turn into the fact, well, people would say, well, then don't go out to eat or don't do this or don't do that. Yes. Right? It's like, that's not what I'm trying to say. I respect what you do. When you work hard, I'll pay you. I'll give you good tips. I'll do everything. I respect hardworking people. I respect good businesses. I respect all of these things. I don't like feeling like I got the wool pulled over my eyes, right? I don't like that feeling when you sneak an extra fee in there. And that is 100% right of you. But it does turn into something different if you put it out in public and everybody's like, oh my God, hey, this guy, what is he doing? He went to a diner. He didn't want to spend the extra, $5. What is it going to break his bank? It's helping this and that. That's not the point.
It's not the point. And you know what? It would really turn into bad. When it would really go bad is when if I told people that I took it out of the tip, which is what I did. Right.
I did not think you would do it any other way.
Well, but you know why? And it's not because, number one, because the service wasn't great to begin with. But number two, it's like, hey, if you're going to jam this down your customers' throats and then you're also going to shame me into giving a tip that I don't want to give in the first place, then I got to take it from somewhere, right? I'm not going to just keep putting percentages on the bill that I didn't know were going to be there. So I mean, I feel like, if you don't like the fact that it was taken out of your tip, take it up with your manager, because they're the ones that jammed this extra 3% down my throat. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but.
And if I'm running that place and I hear your feedback and it makes sense, you waive it. You take it out of the bill. You say, okay, I'm sorry. Simple. I'm sorry. You're right. We should have let you know about that beforehand. XYZ, this and that, right? Should have let you know beforehand. We're going to take it off. Because again, for them, what is it? Right. It's a couple of bucks. 3% isn't a huge amount.
$3.
Right?
Yeah. Right.
So, we'll take it out and to absorb $3 to save the reputation, to save the fact that people coming back again where they could spend another $100 is minor, right? If it goes to your staff, right, to your waiter or waitress that's helping you out there.
And if you know that I'm taking it out of the tip, which I told them, I said, look, I'm not going to pay this and on top of it pay the full tip. I'm taking it somewhere. Yeah. So you want this $3? You give it to them, right? And but I know that a lot of people would say, "Whoa, it's not her fault or his fault that that they did that." Yeah. Well, okay, but something's got to give, because I shouldn't have to absorb this surprise charge somewhere, right? Like, something's got to give.
It's happening a lot.
Yeah.
So it's not even just food establishments and diners and things, right? My whole process of looking for flights has changed, right? You are nickel and dimed for everything, right? I go to find a flight. Oh, that's a good price. But then I find out I don't even have a seat, or I can't take a carry-on, and I can't do this and I can't do this. Unless I pay another $75. And then I can do all that. And then the price is too high, right?
Right.
So airlines are doing that, nickel and diming, all these different things. Hotels are doing it like crazy. New line item charges. Like, I don't know what half the charges are in a hotel bill. Right. I know it's like entertainment expense. What do you mean entertainment expense? Are you providing me some sort of entertainment? Right. I don't understand. Is that for the TV? Like, what are you trying to say?
Rental cars, the airport fee.
They're just pulling it out.
I didn't put you at the airport. What are we talking about?
Exactly.
I know. It's crazy.
Like, we should have the cost, and I understand there's tax, and we'll go from there. But what are all these erroneous things and titles that we're just slapping on things to make more money? And then we're luring people in with this false price, right? You talked about it from a diner, but like I said, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
This false price that then in the end is 50% more sometimes.
That's right. And then,
it's crazy.
And then on top of it, which, we'll mention a little here, is the tipping. The tipping is so out of control. It's like, and again, you're shaming me into giving somebody a tip that's 20, 25, 30% of the bill. I've never tipped that high, by the way, just for the record, ever. I'm still a 15 to 18 person. I don't care if you don't like me or not, but that's what I am, because I think that's a fair tip for someone bringing me. I know. Yeah.
Right. No. I'm just saying, they take a couple drinks off because we have good rapport or whatever. I may go above that because I'm like, all right, they took, and then they're making, I don't want them to make less, but that's the only time I would go really that high. Yeah.
Generally going to a restaurant and getting,
I'm with you.
Mediocre service, which is what I almost always get, I'm going to be in the 15% range. Above that, I'll go above. Below that, I'll go below. And this whole thing about, you should be giving more because they're not making a living wage. I don't know what they're making. That's not my. How am I supposed to go? Do I have to go in there and ask what their salary is? No. Is that what you want me to do? It's crazy.
But they are keeping up with the rising costs more than, say, me or you, because when the cost goes up at a restaurant, the percentage goes, you're going to make more when it's a percentage based on the cost, right?
Of course.
So they are making more. Now, I understand the struggles. I understand there's great ones, there's bad ones. I don't want to step on the role of wait staff, but they are making, right? And I'm usually around an 18 to 20% tipper, but then there is the really good one that I feel like should get more. And I've already kind of hit that top end. So I go a little bit maybe above. Where I'm struggling a little bit with the tipping piece is on takeout. And so I was always to the belief, maybe wrongfully so, that what I was tipping for was the staff, the person that was helping me, that was waiting me, right? Taking care of me, making sure I have my drinks and my food and bringing out great service, going back and forth and where I'm like crazy. That tip was going towards that back and forth to the kitchen and all sorts of stuff, right? Providing me great service. Now I feel like there's an expectation when I show up and grab takeout food that I'm also tipping. those businesses as well. And I have this guilt factor, as you know, my Tan family has done a wonderful job instilling guilt in everything I decide to do or not do in this fashion. But I know they're looking at me like this, and there's always a line that says tip, and I'm like, am I supposed to tip? And maybe I'll give them like a couple of bucks or whatnot, but
not me.
Who am I giving that to?
You flip that screen around at me, I'm flipping it right back. That's what I'm not buying into it, because I'm sorry, like that's just a guilt trip. And that is also a way of businesses to motivate their employees to work there at my expense. Like, oh, you get tips. Wait a minute. How come you put that burden on me? Yeah. Again, I don't know what you're paying them or not paying them. I go in to pick up food. Someone hands me the food. That's not a tippable service, right? Because at that point, where does it end? I mean, I should be tipping every single person that does anything for me at any point. No, I'm paying for that food. Well, here's the bottom line to it. Yeah. People like me, who don't get guilted into that. I do feel shame when I go to these places. And so the end result is I'm not going anymore. I can't tell you how little I go out to eat anymore. Really? And I can't be the only one, because restaurants or chains are going out of business left and right, right? Red Lobster's going, Cracker Barrel's just Cracker Barrel. This is like, they just
I didn't hear Cracker Barrel.
Not going out of business. They closed down 4 stores. Like, who doesn't go to Cracker Barrel?
Wow,
like,
I love Cracker Barrel. I've been there forever, but I love it. People love it.
When you get into like, restaurants are losing the plot because people are going to stop going. I will not go out anymore. It's not a pleasant experience. Like, I pay way too much. I get lousy service. I feel like shamed into tipping for that lousy service. I feel like I've been cheated every single time I go out to eat. That's not a pleasant experience for me, right? And that's what going out is supposed to be, is a pleasant experience.
For sure.
So I eat at home.
Yeah, I probably go out more than I should. Half of that is because I cook in the house. So it's a nice relief to kind of get out and not have to cook. And I do have some places near me that I know people and the service is good. So I have some standard places that I like to go to. But it is getting too expensive. And that's just the bottom line. It's and it's not even always their fault. Increases in the environment where we are right now, right? And in the economy we are right now, prices of everything are going up. I get it. I get it. But in that fashion, like, if I could hardly afford to buy for my family a 5 and cook and keep groceries, like, if I'm going out, I'm paying a lot more. So I can't afford to do it. It's a struggle right now, right?
Something's got to give.
100%. And that tip piece, how I see it is that tip and takeout started. The only time I even thought about it was with COVID. And when COVID took place, we were like, okay, you're still running, but you're having a hard time running your business. And I was throwing a couple extra bucks saying, hey, maybe this will help during these tough times or whatever. And has kind of created, I think, a carryover to a new norm to say, give a couple of bucks extra for takeout as well. And I don't like it, because I don't know who
even during COVID, like, as if I wasn't struggling with my business. I was struggling with my business too. Like, why was I being guilted into supporting yours when I couldn't support mine? You know, the whole thing. Well, I'm going crazy. Okay, we got to get to a solution here. So, so we talked about a couple things, right? The one thing is, don't always assume that everybody is trying to scam you or just trying to have some empathy. Just like my mother said.
The term I use, by the way, is assume positive intent.
Ooh, that's good. Assume positive intent. So there you go. Assume positive intent. I like that, because that will keep you less, keep you sane, right? Yeah. From going crazy, and then we all blow up at each other and it's nuts. At the same time, the things that do bother me that I do think I'm being cheated on, like this expensive, massive tipping, flipping the screens, charges and everything else. You know what I do there? I'm not assuming positive intent, because I don't think there is all the time, but I'm just I'm not going to play into it. I'm not going to go. I'm not going back to that diner. I'm not going to give 15% tips for someone who flips a screen at me and tries to guilt me into I'm not going to do it. Yep. And that's going to have the effect that I'm looking for, I think, right?
Yeah, it totally will. And from a business perspective, I think be transparent, right? Have open communication, be transparent with fees. We all know we're having a tough time, but think about how that's going to be received. If you're going to have an extra fee, put it into the cost. Do something, let it be known up front. Like I said, if you don't want to reprint your menus, put a sticker on the menu and says, hey, 3% is going to be added to all bills based on X, Y, and Z. I still might have a little bit of a problem with it, but at least I know before I order and I purchase and I get my bill, right? And the same thing for some of these airlines and things, right? It's like, give me the real cost. Like, honestly, this is crazy at this point in time, because by the time I add all this other stuff, I'm paying the same price anyways. You're just trying to lure me in with this, with this appetizing rate, but then I have to pick a seat, and all of a sudden my cost is just exactly where it would be at the higher class or beyond. And it's just silly, right?
And what they're doing is they're trying to either guilt you into something that you don't want to do, or assume that you're not going to read it, right? So they're kind of relying on the fact that people don't want to be confrontational or are not going to read it. Well, either one of those things in the long term are bad for you, because if people don't want to be confrontational, they're not going to be, but then they're going to just stop getting into a situation where they feel they have to be, right? Like me, I'm just not going to go anymore,
just
right?
Avoid it, right?
And then if you're relying on the fact that people aren't going to read stuff, people eventually will. And when they catch on, then they're going to not go to you either. So both situations result in people not going to your business anymore. That's where we're going to go. I don't know how to tell people this more plainly. Keep flipping that screen around. Keep putting these charges on you. Yeah, people will probably accept it in the short term. And in the long term, they're going to stop patronizing your business. They're going to stop going out to eat. That's what's going to happen. So anyway, there you go.
Nice. Wow.
All right. Well, I guess we covered everything.
Yeah, I think we got it. we got it.
So anyway, well, I guess that is a wrap. So again, don't forget to subscribe. Let us know what you think. Give comments, whatever else. And while you're doing all that, we'll be waiting for you. See you back here on another episode of
Beyond the Beef.
Thanks for joining.
Thanks, guys.